One of the biggest challenges that people face when they inherit a stamp collection is simply not knowing where to start. You might be thinking, what's the value of this collection? Is it worth anything? And how do I even begin to organize it? It could be very overwhelming, especially if you're not familiar with stamps. A lot of people who inherit stamp collections also struggle with feelings of guilt or obligation. You might feel like you need to keep the entire collection intact, or that you're somehow dishonoring the original collector by breaking it up or selling it. If you're watching this video, I'm going to assume a couple of things. One, that you're not a stamp collector yourself, or if you are, you're unsure of some of the stamps or the areas the collection is made up of. I'm also assuming that you likely don't know an experienced stamp collector in your personal circle who can help assess or value the stamps, which is why you're searching for information like this online. With these things in mind, in order to find out the value of the collection, there's ultimately two options that you have. You can either find a reputable stamp dealer who offers appraisals, or you can take it upon yourself to learn about what you have. The first option is by far the fastest and easiest way. My company, West Coast Stamps, offers free appraisals, but there are many others out there if you search the web. All right, let's talk about the pros and cons of this option. As I mentioned, the biggest advantage is going to be time savings. You simply contact a stamp dealer and arrange for an appraisal, and within a couple weeks, you can have a value of what the stamp collection's worth. But because there aren't as many stamp dealers today as there was in the past, you may not have a local option. Most dealers are going to require that you ship them the collection for an appraisal. They generally need to see the condition of the stamps in person in order to provide an accurate assessment. Usually you can send them some photos of what you have at first, and then they can determine if it's worth sending into them. I know many people may be reluctant to ship a collection in the mail. However, it's much more common than you think. I've personally had hundreds of collections shipped to me over the past 10 years, and not once have I had any issue with delivery or damage. That's not to say that it can't happen. Depending on the quality of the collection, a dealer may offer to provide insured shipping labels, and if not, you can choose to insure the package yourself at a value you're comfortable with. Just make sure you ship with a carrier method that includes signature tracking. That way you can have proof that the package was received. If the collection is substantially large, you can ship it in multiple smaller packages. Another advantage of having your collection appraised by a stamp dealer is that stamps are their full-time career. This means that even if you decide to do research on your own, a stamp dealer is going to have several years of experience over you. And they may notice valuable stamps that went unnoticed, or stamps that you think might be valuable that are actually not. A stamp dealer might also offer to purchase the entire collection from you. This can save you a ton of time instead of piecing it out yourself. Of course, the dealer needs to make a living as well, so don't expect to get retail value. But for many people, time is worth money, and saving a bunch of time may be well worth the wholesale value that a dealer might offer. Okay, so let's talk about the cons. The biggest downside in offering to a dealer is that not everyone is honest. A dealer may sense that you're not a stamp collector and may undervalue the collection in order to get a better price for it. I hear this concern from people all the time, and there's an obvious solution to this problem. Get an appraisal from more than one dealer. It's really that easy. All right, so let's talk about the second option, and that is to educate yourself on what it is you have. One of the biggest mistakes you can do is look up stamps on eBay. People can ask any price for anything, so you can't believe any of the prices that you see online. However, you can use the sold items feature by clicking on the advanced search. Now you'll be able to see what stamps actually sold for. Just be aware of the best offer indicators, which means that the seller took a best offer, and that could be significantly lower than what the asking price was. Another problem with self-education is that stamp collecting may be the most complex hobby ever known to man. Aside from there being hundreds of thousands of different stamp designs to identify, there's also rabbit holes of varieties that can require special tools to identify. For example, take this red George Washington stamp. There are over a dozen different varieties of this single stamp design, which, by the untrained eye, look all the same. And they can range in value from $0 all the way up to six figures. So which one do you have? You'll need to take several hours to learn about perforation measurements, watermarks, printing methods, secret marks, and this is just for one stamp. However, with self-education does come rewards. One of the most exciting parts of inheriting a stamp collection and becoming knowledgeable is discovering hidden gems. As you learn more about the stamps, you might even start to develop your own interest in areas of focus. I've witnessed many people who spent so much time researching stamps that they ended up becoming stamp collectors themselves, and ended up building upon and adding to the collection that they inherited. If you want to go the self-education route, you're going to need to start with a stamp catalog. Scott is the most widely used stamp identification and value guide. They identify and value every stamp ever made in the entire world. Each catalog is for a specific country or groups of countries. These catalogs can be quite pricey, so if you aren't able to purchase one, you can try checking your local library. Whether you decide to use a stamp dealer or do your own research, the choice is yours. If you're a person with limited time, perhaps your job or family doesn't give you much free time, or perhaps you just have zero interest in learning about stamps, then going the stamp dealer appraisal route is likely your best option. However, if you have the time or the interest in learning about what you have, maybe you're that type that likes treasure hunting or learning about history, then doing your own research might be the right approach for you. Just be prepared that you might spend a ton of time that you'll never get back only to find out what you have is not worth very much. Or maybe you'll end up catching the collecting bug and start stamp collecting yourself. Hopefully this video will point you in the right direction. If you found it useful, please be sure to give it a like. And if you decide to go the self-education route, then make sure you definitely subscribe in order to get future stamp collecting tips and advice. Until then, I'll see you in the next video. And as always, best of luck and happy collecting.